Good evening, everyone. Welcome to LFC Transfer Room. I'm here tonight, joined by Patricio and Charlie to discuss the latest developments around Liverpool Football Club. Now, if you're on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If you're over on X, make sure to come over to YouTube. Hi, Fatima. Make sure to come over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, leave your thoughts in the chat, obviously, because we love to have you as part of the conversations that we're having every evening. So tonight we're going to discuss, obviously we're going to touch on transfers and then on transfer topics, quite a few players and another few links that we've seen in the past few hours over on Twitter. And we're going to discuss the fixtures that were released in the morning, with Liverpool being this with us getting the surprise fixture once again Saturday 12:30, but we're going to get into that a bit later. So until then, Patricio, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm all good. Thanks for asking. Just excited for the new season and stuff, and for the rumors that we've been linked to, the players we've been linked to. So, I trust Michael Edwards, and then, like I said yesterday, or like we said yesterday, hopefully his laptop is got a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of data on there. We've decided to pick the correct players that we need. So I'm excited.
Fair enough. Charlie, how about you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. It's been a hot minute since I've been on the channel, so it's good to be on. And I'm sure that my controversial views on a lot of things still won't change and won't impress a lot of people, but I'm sure we'll get onto that later. But yeah, I'm doing good. How about yourself, Mihai?
Very well, actually, because we've discussed it a bit in the studio before going live. Obviously, we've seen quite a few surprises. Yes, that's the segue into what I was trying to say. The, Absolutely insane. Didn't see that coming. Hopefully, we'll get to see more. And yes, great to see Charlie as well. Almost as glad to see Charlie as I was yesterday. So make sure once again to like and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And with that in mind, we're going to get into the transfer talk now. Patricio, we've seen in the last few hours that we are apparently, and from a few good sources, that we've seen that we are linked to Calafiori, to the Bologna defender, center back rather, and we know that we're in the market for a center back. We are looking for one. We've discussed Yoro a few times up until now. But is Calafiori an interesting shout? Now, Bologna can offer him, surprisingly, Champions League football next season, after they obviously qualified. But they're going to be without their coach Mota, who obviously signed for Juve now. So does that play a role? Would you like to see Calafiori sent for us?
Yeah, think could be quite good actually. Carter brought up yesterday how well he's played alongside Bastoni and like in the Italian team. So yeah, I think he'd do quite well for us. Potentially, like can go on that left hand side. Potentially be like a backup for if we don't have Simicast. So could be quite good. Could work out quite well for us. You say he's only like 6 foot as well, right? He's not that massive. So
6'2", I think.
6'2" is he? Oh, so a bit like a Hanko then. So he can kind of like playing that centre back role for let Van Dijk go off a few games, recover his legs. So yeah, could work out quite well for us.
Indeed. Now, obviously, as I said, Bologna have qualified for the Champions League, but then you would expect, as Haler said here in the chat, they're gonna probably lose most of their best players now, as no one saw this season coming for them, and obviously we don't know if they're gonna be able to keep it up, especially without their manager now. So Calafiori could be an interesting shot. Obviously, he's left-footed. He's played as a left back quite a few times for Bologna this season as well. So he could be an option in case we need some more depth on the left side. Sorry. Especially if we're going to see Tsimikas leave, but that's maybe another conversation. Now, if we'd get those 40 million that we've seen on Twitter from Bradford, that would be the absolute best piece of business, I think, from Michael Edwards in the past few seasons. Pete hasn't been here in the past few seasons, but you get my point. Charlie Calafiori, then left-footed, Italian, 6'2", I believe. Would he be an interesting addition?
The thing that I don't like is the Italian part. I mean, you look in the Premier League, how many Italians have really made the step up. I mean, Jorginho is a bang average player. Let's be honest, he's been surrounded by great players at Chelsea. He got carried by Kante. I mean, I'm struggling to name other Italians off the top of my head in the Premier League who've even been okay. Fabio Barini, he was rubbish. Signing Italians, I think, is always a massive
Balotelli.
risk. Yeah, Balotelli. I mean, controversial player, but he was all right for City. But again, for us, terrible. I think the step up from the Serie A for especially Italian, it's very different for like foreign players from the Italian league. Like you look at Salah, he obviously, learned his craft at like Basel, then Chelsea, but Italian players just don't seem to do well, and I think it's far too big of a risk to sign him at this moment in his career, especially for the price that they're going to want for him. They're probably going to want like 60 mil, which is mental. When you can get somebody who has had multiple managers who, for all we know, this guy could be a system player. Like, Thiago Motta turned that team around. Lads, name another person on that Bologna team.
Xerxes, I think, yeah, striker.
Like one or two, exactly. Like we all know, like there's a reason why you don't hear, obviously Xerxes, the obviously the other one, but Thiago Motta come in, turn that team around to a mid-table Italian team to challenge him for the top four. Now he's gone. I would let him stay at Bologna, see if he's still good under a new manager, and then maybe next season go to him. I mean, I just think he screams system player at the moment. I mean, look at Phil Foden in the Euros at the moment, an absolute peak example of a system player who can't perform. I mean, as soon as Pep Guardiola goes, he's just going to be another Jack Grealish, in my opinion. So, off topic, but yeah, I think there's other players out there who I would much rather spend 60 million on. And if we're going to spend 60 million on an Italian centre back, I'd rather just add another 20 million on and go for Bastoni, who has played at the top level for multiple years. Like like lads, did anyone know this guy? Let's be honest, before this week. No. So I think that for me, that says it all. And at a point I raised in our chat, he wears an earring. So, straight away, that's a tick next to my why not to sign him. Get a proper hard foul who's going to headbutt someone for you like Martin Skirtle. But yeah, I mean, for all I know, he could be a good player, but for the price Bologna are going to want, not a chance. I'd rather sign Mark Gahey, I'll be honest. I don't even want him. So it's go for Inacio. We're going to talk about Yoro. Go for someone who has pedigree or has at least a few years performing at top level. Bologna have been good for the past year because Thiago Motta coming. So it's a big, hard pass for me.
Yeah, fair enough. I was thinking pretty much the only upside would be that maybe you're going to get someone who's going to absolutely tear it apart, and if we get him now at this age, it would be a great addition for the future and all that. But that's a risk.
That I would agree with that if he was going to cost you 30 million.
Yeah,
but or 30 million euros. I just think at this point, I think
30 million, like one euro is enough. Like we don't need more.
Yeah, it's like I think
that's right.
At this point, I think signing someone in like the age range of like 22 to 25 just doesn't make sense for us at the moment either. I think you either sign someone who's young, someone who is like 20, like 21 at the early, like, or even 19, like Yoro, or you go and sign someone with a bit of experience, like a Hanko, someone who's like 27, 28, and kind of, because I mean, you don't really need more than 4 centre backs, let's be honest. Like, we've got Van Dijk, Kwanzaa, Canate, and whoever we're going to bring in now. Like, is this whoever this person is, they're gonna come in as fourth choice straight away. So you signing someone in their peak, it's I just not in the peak, but in the age where they need to be playing like that, like 24, 25. It just doesn't make sense for us personally. I think you go out, you buy someone experienced, or you buy someone young who's fine to buy at the time. Like signing someone that age, especially for the price, is ridiculous. I think we'll sign somebody, either Yoro, who's a lot of potential for 50 million, and just have him playing, in and out in different competitions for like 2-3 years. Who knows what's going to happen with Canate. I see him going to PSG, and it probably in the next few years. I think injuries. I think the club will probably look at it and be like, "Look, thanks for the time. We can probably get 60 million from it for you. See you later." But yeah, I think we need a centre back, but it's what type of centre back do you get? Like, and I think I'm leaning towards signing like a 19, 20-year-old who is going to be happy to just play like 30 games, cup competitions, coming off the bench, being back up, because Kwanzaa has not put a foot wrong. And in my opinion, he should be starting next to Van Dijk next season, regardless of who we sign. So it's an interesting situation. Obviously, we are signing a centre back, like it is happening, but I'll be interested to see who it is. So, but it's not going to be this Italian fella, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, fair enough then. Yeah, so we've seen some. Sorry, I left the chat behind a bit. Yeah, it is. Haler, sorry. We've seen, obviously, so many players like from Girona, as you said, are gonna attract interest now from the top sides in Europe, but you never know what you're gonna get. Like, for example, we've seen one of their the striker that Girona had, which is Dovbyk, got absolutely annihilated from a Romanian defense, some would say, yesterday. And you just never know what you're gonna get from these players who've had a good season, and then. Yeah. All right. So we've touched on Yoro a bit during this Calafiori conversation. So, Patricio, I'm gonna ask you for your thoughts on Yoro. Now we know that all the sources on Twitter say that his first choice is Madrid, which fair enough. We've learned to expect things like that when we're in a competition with Madrid to sign players. Obviously, he looks like the next big thing. So another promising young player, which might be closer to, as Charlie said, to what we need for the future. Now, we know that his preference right now is Madrid, but Liverpool are there waiting. And in case Yoro won't get his Madrid move, now it looks like we may be ready to go in for him. Is that a signing that you'd like us to make? Are we concentrating a bit too much and maybe waiting for someone instead of just going for someone else who's available right now? What are your thoughts?
I think they spoke about it yesterday on yesterday, that he's a generational talent. He's someone who, like, yes, it's bad that he wants to pick Madrid, which realistically we shouldn't be a stepping stone club. We should be like the final destination where you want to play for us. So realistically, you shouldn't really look to Madrid. And it's a bit, obviously, they are, because they're one of the best in the world, but I think if we do sign him, he will be a generational talent. He will be someone that will start alongside Kwanzaa, be the sort of Van Dijk replacement as such. I think we spoke about it yesterday, and Paul brought up quite nicely how, like, he should be bought because he doesn't take a homegrown spot, or eventually he'll take a homegrown spot after the 3-year period. So he'll be good for the future. And then Hanko as well is an option to sort of like a Matip replacement, I reckon. And that way Van Dijk can have some games off where he can relax as well. And then we're not burning him out, So I like Hanko as well. I know I think he's a Liverpool fan as well. So I think those two would be quite good. And you'd get him for near enough the same price as you're paying for that Calafiori. So, yeah, I think that's what we should do. I'll see what happens.
Right. So I didn't want to touch on this topic too much, but if the chat wants to talk about it, then we have to answer it, don't we? So, Haler, I did grow up, and I'm still in Transylvania. So I guess that's what you're referring to with the witchcraft part. Honestly, no one saw that one coming. Like, if you were talking to people, they were excited and optimistic, but mainly because it's a final tournament and you never know. But no one really saw that one coming. Like, I just feel like defensively we were good as we always were, but then I I'm still gonna be the voice of reason. I think we got a bit lucky to win it 3-0 because on the first goal it was obviously a mistake by Lunin. On the second one it was another mistake, but I think overall we okay. That's it. I Are you sure? Weren't you like somewhere from the north? Like why are you speaking Romanian all of a sudden? Okay, but well, yeah. So it was great, but then there's still a few matches to go. So then yes, Muse, we're gonna have opinions on the fixtures a bit later, though. We're just gonna get into
You also,
into the transfer
you
topic.
also had 28% possession as well, which is very impressive to win 3-0 from that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like we just did everything we needed to do. I remember like in the first half as well. They've had the ball constantly. We just left them the ball. It's like Mourinho said, they had the ball tiki taka taka tiki taka, but then we scored. So that's what matters, I guess. I don't know why I remember that Mourinho quote, but it's always been in my mind, and now I get a chance to use it. So fair enough. All right, Charlie, your thoughts on Yoro? Get a bit of a pause in between you and Patricio, but is Yoro a bit more suited for us than Calafiori then?
Yeah, a massive red flag the fact that he's waiting for Real Madrid though. I'm kind of sick and tired of Real Madrid and our transfer triangle that we seem to have with them and every single player we want to sign. I mean, the last player we won from them was Harvey Elliott, who chose us over Real Madrid. I mean, Tchouameni's gone away, Jude Bellingham's went that way. I swear we were interested in Eder Milito as well when he left from Porto. There's probably other ones, but I'm kind of done. The only thing that is kind of keeping me in is the fact that he's 18. However, that also means that when he's done on his first contract, he's going to be 24, an absolute push. So he's probably going to want to leave, which again, not ideal because we're going to be honest, he's 18. The 2 years that he's going to have with us, the first two, they're going to be playing backup. He's not getting in our team, but at the same time, he's also not getting in Real Madrid's team. I think he's got a much better chance of playing for us than he has for Real Madrid. And at the end of the day, he's learning from the best centre back in the world, which in my mind, that should be an attractive proposition for him. But clearly, he still wants Real Madrid, and I don't like players who want to play for Real Madrid and Barcelona, and who are very open about that because down the road they still want to play for them clubs. We've got very lucky with a lot of our big players recently who, Alisson doesn't want to move, Van Dijk doesn't want to move, Salah doesn't want to move. We've been, I'm sure I don't have to remind everyone that Coutinho drama, not ideal. Don't want that to happen again. Xabi Alonso back in the day, obviously with Rafa and stuff, and it's just annoying because at the end of the day, the player has all the power basically, and if they say they want to go and throw a tantrum, it's not good for anybody. So, yeah, I don't know. I would still be interested. I'd still probably go for him. I mean, it's 50 million euros. What's that? Like 42 million pounds. It's basically what we bought Canate for. And even though Canate's been injured, I don't even know. He's like 6'3", isn't he? And he's 18. Like he's a big fella, and he's still got a lot of growing to do. So, maybe comes to Liverpool, falls in love with the place, never wants to leave. Highly doubt that. But if we can get 6 years up for him and then sell him when he's 24 to Real Madrid for 150 million, I don't think anybody would turn that down. But as I said, with the whatever his name was. I'm leaning towards either a young player and he fits that, he's 18 years old, he comes straight into the first team, or an older player like Hanko. So either or, I'm not bothered about. This way, it's obviously basically guaranteed money when he eventually does leave, or he stays forever and becomes the best defender in the world. But I don't know much about him. I'll be honest. I haven't really watched him for Lille, uh, so who knows? But if Real Madrid are interested in him, he's probably pretty good. So they never usually miss with transfers.
Yeah, and like every time we're in a competition with Madrid and signing players, I feel like they're capable of offering some wages that we're not going to, mainly because of the financial model and all that. Now, I don't know if that was necessarily the case with Bellingham, which is the most recent example, but yeah, it's Madrid. They're the biggest club in the world, and they're gonna be able to attract players. But speaking of players who want to play for Real Madrid and Barcelona, we are going to move into our next topic, which is Luis Diaz. His father seems to be very passionate on this topic as well, with conflicting news on Diaz and on his future. I think Diaz himself said that he's happy at Liverpool. He wants to stay. He wants to continue. But then these rumors don't seem to die down. We're gonna have to see what happens with him. Because we've discussed it in the previous days as well. Like I feel Diaz still hasn't hit that ceiling that we were waiting for him to. And obviously, we don't know if he's going to or not. It will feel like a bit premature to let him go now, I feel, but you just never know, in terms of if he wishes to move and they finally Barcelona managed to get the funds to actually transfer him, then he might just do that. So Patricio, if Diaz leaves, do we need another left winger? Do we need a left winger now, even if Diaz stays? Do you think he goes? Do you think he stays? And what do you want to happen on that?
I think I'm very conflicted about it. Like, I would like him to stay at the moment. I don't like the fact that he's got Barcelona in his mind. That's a bit off-putting. That makes you think, I'll just do my time at Liverpool, buy my time, and then go. And that just makes you think. I just think he needs to show his potential and like reach the points. And if he's not, like Gakpo's showing this tournament that he can play on that left-hand side, that he possibly could do well there. So I'm hoping that Diaz can play well for us under slot, and maybe like in that sort of less attacking mid role, he will do better. Maybe he'll thrive better off that, instead of being stuck in the wings. So we'll see. Like, I would like him to stay, see one more season, see how he does under slot, and then if he's still in that mindset that he wants to go, then yeah, I'm not too sure, to be honest. It's really conflicting.
Yeah, I feel like that's everyone's thoughts on him. Like, you just never know what you're gonna get from him. I feel like if he could maybe learn to actually finish a bit more. We've talked about his finishing with Dan on a previous stream. I think if I remember correctly, he got like 4 goals in his first seasons, and then last season when he actually played the most minutes, he got 8 goals in the league, which is not the numbers you'd expect from a left winger, especially if we've just had a left winger who's been banging them in left and right in the last few seasons before Diaz came in, obviously. Charlie, would you let Diaz go if the money is right? And then who would you sign as a replacement? Or would you sign anyone?
Yeah, no brain. I think it's not going to happen because it's Barcelona, and if it, I also don't think he's in a situation to force a move purely because everything we did, like how the club got behind him when everything with his father was going on. And again, his dad being a moron, obviously he was kidnapped at the time, so I didn't really know. But I mean, we have been, probably paying for everything. Him coming over, just dancing in the box. So bit ungrateful, but we move. South Americans and Barcelona, again, a nightmare. 80 million comes in, I'm selling them. I don't even care. I think he's good at what he does, which is running at players. However, once he gets past them players, he usually doesn't know what to do. I feel like the only goals he ever scores are like back post tap-ins or cut-in screamers. There's kind of no middle ground. So I think, he's a good player. I think we could do better. I wouldn't replace him as a left winger. I think Gakpo's best position is at the left wing. I think Slot is probably going to get the best out of him, to be fair. I think Klopp has tried to force him in too many positions. He's tried to force him as a striker. He's tried to force him as a false nine. Tried to play him as an 8 at one point. I think give him a full season at left wing. And then I think we've got Jota there, and even Nunez's best position's left wing. So if we sell him, I think if we sold him for 80 million, I would probably put that towards an actual goal scoring striker, because that is what we are missing. I would have Gakpo and Nunez on the left. I'd have, obviously we're signing the right winger anyway for behind Salah, but you go out, you sign someone who's just going to bag goals for you as a 9. And then you've got, you'll have a decent start on 6 there. You'll have, Nunez, Gakpo on the left, Jota, this new striker up front. And then you'll have Salah and whoever's going to be back up for him, So I think that's because at the moment we've just got too many left wings. Like, even Jota's main position is left wing, if we're being honest with ourselves. Like, we've got 4 players whose best position is left wing, which isn't sustainable. Obviously, Diaz is probably the more flexible one who can go on the right. But again, Salah doesn't miss many games, and he only missed games last year because of AFCON. So, yeah, I would sell him. I'll be honest with you. I've said from the beginning I'd sell either him or Nunez. One. I think one of them two has to go to buy a striker, because that's what we need. I'll be on this stream for 20 hours if you make me talk about how rubbish we are at finishing. Just 2 years ago we got a counter attack. 90% of the time we were scoring. I mean, we go forward now, it's like 20% conversion rate. We've got like 4-on-1s, and it's because these players just aren't clinical at the end of the day, because none of them are natural goal scorers. So I'd go out at who this striker is. I don't know. But again, Michael Edwards has been gone for years, so I'm sure he's been piling up a little list of some strikers. Him and his bud, what's his name? The new sporting director, that fella.
Hughes.
Yeah. So I'm glad we're back to statistically analysing players now instead of the eye test, because as much as Jurgen Klopp is a great manager, he's not a great. I'll argue it to the hill. He's just not good at signing players, if we're going to be honest with you. Yes, the eye test is good, but I mean, prime example is Nunez. And again, I think there's a player in there. I just don't think there's a player in there for us. I mean, even Salah, we wanted to sign Julian Brand over Salah. I mean, it tells you everything you need to know, really. So, let's get one of them two gone. Who it is, I don't care. Get 70, 80 million for them. Sign a striker, and let's go and just win everything, because we're not winning anything with the strikers we have at the moment.
Indeed, a very good point regarding the counterattacks. This last season, I think, was probably the most frustrating in that regard. I feel like, especially now, I don't know about you, but for me, the United games are going to just live in my memory for a while. The one in the FA Cup and the one in the league as well. Now, obviously, I don't think that was the moment we lost the league. The same it wasn't really with the Everton loss either, as well, as much as their fans want to believe that. But indeed, we haven't been clinical enough, and in a lot of moments we seem to just don't have the composure anymore in front of goal. And it's as you said, it's the Arsenal counter attack as well is one that it comes into mind. So yeah, hopefully we're going to see what happens. I know, Charlie, you're a massive Nunez fan. You've always been on the chat as well. I remember a lot of your opinions on him. But yeah, indeed, I feel like the only clinical striker we have is that you can rely on scoring is Diogo Jota, but then he seems to be getting injured a bit more than usual recently. I don't know if I'm romanticizing that or if I'm wrong or whatever,
I
but
think
I
he's
feel like
always. I feel like he's always been fairly injury prone. To be honest, he's 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 all by far our best finisher. I think he's a better finisher than Salah on his day. Um, but he's a 30 game a season player, and we need a 60 game a season player. And even though Darwin Núñez can play that many games, unfortunately, he just isn't a natural finisher. Unfortunately, so I would be very interested to see Núñez on the left. However, I think Gakpo towards the end of the season, and if he has a good Euros, I think he more than deserves to start the season. So it's going to be interesting how they line up. But I think someone's going to go. I think there's going to be a big departure this summer. I don't know who, but I think we'll accept a bid to try and fund, someone big, whether that be a DM or a striker, who knows? But I do think we need to sort out the attack because that's the main issue at the moment.
yeah, indeed. I don't disagree. One of the right wingers that I've seen that seems to be really interesting, and that's one that I'm not going to shut up anytime soon, is Bakayoko, the Belgian. I feel like he'd be a great understudy, for Salah, but obviously not necessarily a clinical striker. We've seen his miss yesterday against Slovakia. If you've seen the game, Hanchko was the one who actually blocked the ball off the line, so that's an interesting duo there. So yeah, we're gonna have to see. And indeed, as Muse said, miss your chances and get killed on the counter. But some defenses were so good that their opponents didn't even have chances, like some Ukraine did yesterday. But yeah. All right. We are going to go into probably the most hot topic for this evening. We've seen that in the morning we found out the fixtures of the season, and the fixtures we're going to have to play, and the order we're going to play them in, actually, because the fixture is probably new. Decent start, but then tricky end to our season. We're gonna go into them, and we're gonna discuss them, and I'm obviously gonna ask the lads for their thoughts as well. Let me just get them in front of me now. So we're gonna start off the season. Absolute shocker. I don't know if anyone saw that one coming. We're gonna play on a Saturday 12:30 kickoff away against a newly promoted side. Now we've done we've done great against Norwich on the opening day 2 seasons in. I feel like 2008. No, it was the title winning season. We played against them at Anfield. We won 4-0, and then we won, I think, in 21-22 as well. We've won 4-1 at Norwich, 3-1. I don't remember exactly.
Played Burnley last season as well.
Yeah. Okay, but I feel like Ipswich is going to be a bit tougher than Norwich, mainly because they're coming back in the Premier League after a long time. That stadium is going to be absolutely rocking, and we know we don't necessarily have the best record and playing at 12:30 kickoffs. But that was with Jurgen. Maybe Slot's going to be the king of that early kickoff. We don't know yet. So it's Ipswich away, Brentford at home. We're going to play United away on the third game week, which I don't know about you, lads, but it reminds me of a very unsuccessful season. I believe that was the season we finished fifth in. We played United. I think we drew Fulham, Palace, and then we went and lost at Old Trafford, and that was the 22-23 season, if I believe. So not necessarily the best of memories with that one. Forest and Bournemouth at home, and then obviously, we're not going to go into them all, but decent opening in the sense that we're going to play some teams that we should be beating. But then that United one in between will probably give Slot the chance to, and not only him, but maybe some of the players, to avenge some of those misses that we just talked about in the last season. We're going to end the season. That's going to be another tricky run-in, with our last 5 going to be Spurs, Chelsea, Arsenal, Brighton, and Palace. So I don't know about expectations. Me personally, I was saying if we get top four, I'm more than okay. I don't necessarily expect Slot to challenge for the league in his first season, so I don't believe that's going to be too much pressure on us. I believe we're going to get top four done or almost sorted by the end of the season. We definitely have the squad to do so. It just depends on how early Slot can get them to adapt to what he wants them to play. So Patricio, expectations for the season and your thoughts on these fixtures that we've discussed.
Yeah, so as you said, like top four is a necessity. I think Slot has it in his head that he's gonna do well with us. He's gonna come into a team that isn't ruined. That we've got a good side. It's just improving the fine margins, like getting like Darwin Nunes to be better on his composure and stuff like that. I think opening game he will put out not as much of a strong squad just to try players out, especially being Ipswich. But I don't know. I could be wrong. He could put out a strong squad against them as they're coming up after 22 years out of the Prem, so they're going to come with a proper fight in them. So I'm actually quite excited for it. I live near Portman Road, so I think it'll be quite good to see how Liverpool handle it. I think going from there, then obviously Brentford will be quite a difficult match as well. But I'm quite excited for what Slot has planned for us. I think with the new signing, well, whoever we get coming in, I hope everyone can adjust to his system, whether he plays Trent in midfield or not, and hopefully he can get the best out of the finishing for us. Because, like I said, our finish has been pretty much abysmal. So I'm hoping that we'll do quite well, and top four is a necessity. So yeah.
Yeah, I believe realistically, though, we need to be winning at least four out of those opening five, like I can get. If we don't win at Old Trafford, maybe third game of the season, it's still early for Slot and for his side, and I'm getting if maybe we don't win that, but Ipswich and then 3 home games against Brentford, Forest, and Bournemouth. Those need to be won if we want to, make sure we don't get nervous about top four come the end of the season. But yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see. Me personally, I'm really, really excited to see Liverpool under new head coach. That is. So yeah, Charlie, 12:30 kickoff once again to start the season off. It is going to be a difficult game at Ipswich, but then we need to be winning that, don't we?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not really worried. We saw what Burnley did in the Championship. This Ipswich side were nowhere near as good as that Burnley side was. So yeah, I'm not worried, especially with it. It'll be an unreal atmosphere and it'll be a test. But I think Slot's coming into he's very lucky in the team he's coming in with, and that's got so many experienced players. The likes of Virgil van Dijk, Mo Salah. They're not going to care about the atmosphere. They'll get everybody around. Like, fortunately, he's coming into a stable side, so not worried about that. Should turn them over. Actually, really happy about playing United away early. I hate playing them late on like our season capitulated against United. Yes, the FA. I think the FA Cup game was where we just the team fell apart, but then going again and losing again, at Old Trafford. Get that over and done with as soon as possible. You can even if you lose, you can afford to take that hit early. It is what it is. You then know. Okay, we've lost that, but at least the hardest game of the season is out the way. Regardless of how good United are, they could be eighth. It's always the hardest game, so get that over and done with nice and early. The running bit tough, like I think it was at Arsenal. What's the last 5 games? It's quite tough. It's like
Yeah.
Brighton,
So
Palace,
it's
Arsenal, Chelsea, Newcastle.
Spurs, Chelsea, Arsenal, Brighton, and Palace.
Yeah. Now, I would be very worried about that if we were going for a title challenge. However, I think hopefully we'll have top 4 wrapped up by then. I think that's the minimum maximum for me. I don't think if you're expecting Liverpool to challenge this season, I'd think again. It'd be a nice surprise if they do. I'm not expecting it. If we do, great, but I'm not gonna. Even if we push it to the end, it is what it is. I'm not expecting anything but a top four push. Get an FA Cup, Carabao Cup, go as far as you can. We're fortunate that we're in the Champions League. Knockout tournament, anything's possible. You don't have to be the best team in the world to win a knockout tournament. So, focus on the Champions League, focus on getting top four. We've got a bunch of youth players to try and get a Carabao Cup again. So, happy about that. However, it is absolute bullshit. This is not random. I do not care. They handpick these fixtures. I don't know if anyone's seen Manchester City's final 10 games. They have Manchester United as their hardest team. The other teams are all teams who could easily be relegated. They're basically saying, Pep, we know it's your last year. Here's a 10-game winning streak for you to go on. Yeah, it's a joke. There's no way it's randomly picked. And again, they know that we have a big thing against 12-30, and they've give us it. So, yeah, absolutely not random. And I know everybody will say, "Oh, you play the same teams," but look at our last 5 games compared to City's last 5 games. It's a joke, but it is what it is. You just gotta. Them fixtures will be changed around anyway because of how far teams go in certain competitions. So them final 5 games probably won't even be the final 5 games. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm happy we've got United early. It's the main thing. I'm really happy about that. So facing them in Christmas time where you're playing every 3 games, we're going to have a full week's rest. Hopefully all of our players will be injured. So yeah, I'm all right, James. But yeah, it is what it is. You gotta swear. Sometimes it's just sometimes they screw you over and you have to. But I'm sure Slot doesn't care.
Indeed, he's not native. As Jurgen said, if we're not native, then you Charlie, you are. But it doesn't. Let's not discuss that any further. Yeah. Thank you, Paul. Good to have this mentioned once again. I don't mind it. I won't get tired of it. I'm gonna highlight every one of those comments. So yeah, it is indeed. Yeah, as you said, Charlie, I can relate to that in the sense that I remember that season when we went into the Old Trafford fixture after drawing Palace and Fulham. It's just I absolutely hate United with a passion mainly because they've always been protected by the refs, by the media, by everyone else. I remember, if you don't think there's a United bias in the media, you should just look back into the 2021-22 season when Rashford, I think, scored in 6 or 7 consecutive games and he got Ballon d'Or shouts by Sky Sports and all that. It was insane. So yeah, it's always been like that, and it's interesting because then it's why I absolutely despise to lose against them as well. And it seems like it's not necessarily the best timing for Slot as well, because you'd like to allow him to get a bit more rhythm into the squad and with the squad before getting a tough away fixture like that, because Old Trafford's been pretty difficult, let's say, for us, even though we've won there 5-0 and 4-2 in the last 5 years. So it is going to be interesting. Yeah, it was 5-1. No, it was 5-2. Sorry, you can turn on your mic, Patricia, because it's
I was just talking about the 7-0 fixture.
the 7-0. Yeah, that was at home. Yeah, but I was thinking about the Old Trafford fixtures. Yeah. Indeed, but never a dull moment to discuss the 7-0 as well. And yeah, Charlie, as you said, I just looked into it now. So City's final 5 fixtures are going to be Villa at home, Wolves at home, Southampton away, Bournemouth at home, and Fulham away. That's tough run in that, and especially with 3 of those being at home. Yeah.
You might as well. Honest to God, yeah. Just give Man City the title.
Yeah.
You might as well. Like, even look at the five before that. I think the only other game is, I think they've got Everton, they've then got United, they've got Nottingham Forest, and two other ones. But
Yeah.
their last 10 games are an absolute joke.
So we can go into them now if you want. So they're playing us and Spurs late February, and then from March onwards they got Forest, Brighton, Leicester, United, Palace, Everton, and then those five that we just listed a bit earlier. So yeah, as you said, not really the trickiest running. So indeed, it almost feels like we're playing for. We're just gonna watch the season unfold, and it's like it's never been like this. You just know they're gonna win it, and there's just no conversation to be had about it, really. But yeah, so we with that in mind, we are going to leave it here for tonight's stream. Thank you so much for everyone who tuned in. Thank you for everyone who mentioned the Romania result as well. Thanks to Patricio and Charlie for being here tonight. Before we're gonna go though, 10 more minutes before the Portugal versus Czech Republic game, so we're gonna ask you both for a prediction on that. Patricio?
I see more like a sort of 3-0, maybe 3-1 Portugal. It's got to go their way. I think they're definitely favourites. I don't see Czech Republic doing very well. So we'll see how they do, but it's probably going to go Portugal's way.
Charlie?
Yeah, I don't even 2-0. Yeah, 2-1, 2-0. But Jota's not starting, I don't think. So yeah, maybe he comes off the bench, scores in the first minute like he did in the friendly. So yeah, but who knows? Plenty of football. Copa America starts soon as well, doesn't it? So fun times.
Yeah, it is. You know what I'm interested in? I'm curious to see if this Czech Republic generation, if we're gonna have a redemption for this side, because now they've had that amazing squad at the beginning of the 2000s. In like 2004, 2006, they've had players like Kohler, the Dortmund striker. They've had Milan Baros, obviously, Rosicki, players like that. They've had an amazing side, and ever since then, they just didn't seem to get any light at these final tournaments. That didn't get to see the light of day. So now we get him in a final tournament again. You know what? I'm gonna say 2-all draw because I want to see the Czech Republic do well. Hopefully, yeah. It's probably gonna be.
I might be very uncultured. I've just looked at their team. I know one player, and that's Patrick Schick. Literally don't know anybody else. So, I mean, I'm looking at the bench. I know Holzer. He's the one from Bayer Leverkusen, isn't he?
Stoichik plays as well.
Oh, Stoichik.
And Sufal.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
So
Stoichik. I saw Stoichik. So they've got a few, but let's be honest, they're probably getting turned over. I think for me, I think Portugal or Netherlands are going to win it. So they're I don't know. I just think when they play their best, I think they look very, very good, and they've both come in having very good friendlies. And also it's positive for us because Liverpool players on both the teams. So Scout's not English, but I support Liverpool players.
Fair enough then. All right. So we are going to see you back tomorrow. Don't forget 7 p.m. We've changed the time, the beginning of the stream, so that we get to watch the Euros as well. 7 p.m. UK time tomorrow and for the rest of the week. Then thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thanks for all the comments. And up until tomorrow, up the Reds.